Hello, Samson here. Have you ever walked through a forest and you wondered why it thrives so much with absolute no work from anyone, no help from anyone? There is no fertilizers which go in, there is no water that gets to be sprinkled in or rather irrigated in, and then there is no one who's fighting against pests, but yet it's bursting out with so much life in it. Yet you're wondering why your garden demands a lot of labor from you. Welcome to today's book review segment. We are going to be discussing Toby Hemenway's Gaia's Garden. So this is a guide to a home scale permaculture. Diving right into it, the core problem with the conventional type of garden, as he points out, is he simply starts with a question asking, why is gardening so much labor and work for you, right? But why do forests get to thrive with little or no care from literally anyone? Because he answers that nature has got a way of doing its own things. It obeys its own laws. So there are three things that nature basically does. The first one is it never leaves the soil bare. That's number one. Secondly, nature never plants in permacultures. So when you go to a forest, you're going to notice that you will not just find monoculture. Thirdly, you're going to find that nature never tills. Bear in mind that these are the three principles which actually might be the distinguishing factors for what we're going to delve right into today. So the principle is permaculture, literally. Comes from two words, that's permanent and agriculture. So permanent agriculture. This is not a set of techniques or anything else, but it's rather a way of thinking in lines of interconnectedness of how one part gets to play another in order to build up a whole system. So the number of connections among elements creates a healthy, diverse ecosystem, not the number of elements in itself. The core principle of the book that Toby gets to bring in is the differences, I think, that I mentioned earlier on, to say that nature never leaves the soil bare, nature doesn't do monoculture, nature doesn't do low density stuff. Henceforth, he gives us three basic principles which I am going to point out to. Firstly, it is the stack of functions. So every element in your ecosystem, in your garden, should be able to provide a certain type of function, not only one, but a multiple functional type of work that is supposed to be provided to. So an example of apple tree, it's not just supposed to provide you with fruit, but it can provide you with shade. It should be able to provide a habitat for wildlife. It should be able to provide protection against wind, and it should be able to provide a mulch from its leaves falling. Secondly, there is each function that is supported by multiple elements, right? So if one element fails in your ecosystem, it should be able to be backed up by the other. So your garden's water, for example, has to be backed up by the richness of the soil, its capacity to hold moisture in itself, because he points out to say that if 2% of your soil can hold moisture, then you're saving yourself about 75% of irrigation. Thirdly, it is the use of biological resources. So let plants and animals be able to do the work for you. The techniques that he points out to, which you could learn from and employ, firstly, is that we need to be able to build soil, because soil in itself is a living organism, right? So he says that he gives an analogy of a teaspoon of soil which contains billions of bacteria in there. There is a lot of fungi, and then there is a lot of amoeba in it. So if we're able to build the life of soil, then we should be able to build up life of whatever crops we want to grow. Not monoculture. We're going to find reasons as we are going on. Secondly is the fact that we need to be able to sheet mulch. So this is layering of different kinds of mulches that you could use. Nitrogen rich kind of mulch, so that you could add nitrogen back to the soil, and different kinds of mulch, just so that you can be able to protect the soil from the scorching heat that you have. And then catching water, as alluded to earlier on, that 2% of your soil's moisture can save you about 75% of your irrigation. That's a principle to bear in mind. So The last key element here, number 4, is actually creating a guide or creating guides. So a guide is a community of plants which are able to support each other. From our annual growing of maize that we do mostly in Zambia and in Africa, because a lot of other smallholder farmers are not able to irrigate, you should be able to provide guides for your plants. If you're planting maize, do not just do maize alone in a field. So you can grow maize with beans and pumpkins. So with your chihuahua, what happens is your maize is going to grow to support the beans, which the beans is supporting the maize by nitrogen fixation in the soil, and then your chihuahua is going to be able to cover the soil from the scorching heat of the sun that comes in direct. And then another section of the book is talking about a food forest vision. So here, the most important thing that is inspiring to look at is that there is a 7-layered edible landscape that he gets to employ. However, there is like different stories that he gets to bring about. I can only mention maybe one of which is the Bullocks brothers on an island, where he says that they are able to produce and put maybe students there to graze for about 20 days or so without having to worry about maybe fruits running out. And this is done on an island. So there is potential for actually us being able to grow food like that. In conclusion, what the takeaways for me are from the book: should be able to take care of so much, because it is from there that everything else grows. So I'll end in a quote that says that nature can be gardener's ally. So with a little ingenuity and a change in a viewpoint, a gardener can actually shift plenty of labor to the willing partner, which is nature, on how it's able to do its things. So this is Toby, Hemenway, Gaia's Garden. Till we meet in the next segment, I am checking out.